I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. For some of you, it's morning time. For some of you, it's noon. And for some of you, it's evening time. So I wanted to thank you for joining to hear this extraordinary story of the Asian University for women and the brave young women who are escaping the Taliban rule to continue their education and in the process creating a brain bank for the future of Afghanistan and the rest of the world in Asia. And I am particularly excited because thanks to Kamal, Ahmad, who is the founder of the university, I have had a close association with the university and really known about it since it was the brainchild of Mrs. Blair, of Kamal, and many others on this Zoom call. And we at RockCreek have been big supporters and very, very excited about everything that has been going on. In fact, we were so fortunate a few years ago, just before COVID, to have Chancellor Blair be here in person. And I promise you, as soon as things are a little bit more normal, we will get her to come here in person and have you here in person. So in the meantime, we will hear today on Zoom about the heroic journey of the 148 Asian University women students and alumni who fled Afghanistan as Kabul was falling to the Taliban, including from some students who helped organize the evacuation. We'll also hear about ongoing efforts to bring more than 700 women out of Afghanistan to study at the AUW and other universities all over the globe. And in particular, students who were not able to leave the country in August, but have made it since to Bangladesh and are at the university. Most importantly, of course, we'll also hear from the university's chancellor, Cherie Blair, and founder Kamal Ahmad about AUW's role as a beacon of education, of refuge, and ultimately of hope. Mrs. Blair, Kamal, and all our students who have joined us for this session from all over the world, I wanted to thank you so much for being with us, and many thanks to our guests for being part of our session today. Mrs. Blair, I was wondering, can you tell us about how the university helped organize this massive evacuation at the, while some other people were having difficulties evacuating people, and the challenges you all had to overcome?
It's to talk about how difficult it was. It's ridiculous. We were sitting here thinking, what can we do? Who can we call? But the reality is the bravery was shown by the young women who, not once, not twice, but 3 times got on those buses, dodged the chaos, dodged the danger. They were there when there was that huge explosion. I mean, extraordinary. And then 3 of the students actually were so exhausted when they got to the airport that they fell asleep when they were trying to charge their phone and they missed the plane out. And yet these girls are so resourceful that they managed to get themselves on another plane and they went out in a different way. And when they landed in Qatar, which is where they got to, they were the ones who were translating for all the others because they could speak the good English. I mean, the resourcefulness that innately our students have, but which has also been brought out by being given the chance to express themselves, to learn, was shown so vividly, I think, by this whole experience.
Thank you so much. And seriously, thank you for everything you do every day for the university. Kamal, I also wanted to ask you, I remember early days and really you're working 24/7. And could you tell us the original idea for some of the people who are on this Zoom who may not know the original idea behind the university and how you went about securing the global support you did for the institution to succeed?
I think the idea of the university was in part propelled by the absence of any focus on higher education, particularly for women in developing countries. You were at the World Bank for many years, so you'll remember that there was this implicit understanding that if you're in a poor country, all you need to do is get your boys and girls into primary school and somehow they will be more productive farmers or garment factory workers or whatever. But the idea that if a stable world required sort of an equality, a symmetry of knowledge in all spheres was very much an absence. So this university was born really out of a notion that even poor countries, even the most fragile state, required access to higher education to solve problems that they would come. And in some ways, the people who are at the margins of society, who have been by and large excluded from opportunities to education, offer the best promise. You know, in biology, there is this notion that that the species that inhabit between land and water are the most resilient. So we took on that concept and we said, you know, this university will focus on those women who have been neglected, who are bypassed by the ordinary system, and provide them not, you know, an ordinary education, but the most excellent education we can provide.
We are now going to go to one of our students, Seperha Azami, about her experience at the Asian University for Women and her transition to Cornell, where she is today. Seperha, you worked for an NGO and you were a translator for a journalist, I think, to support your family, all the while you were going to school full time. In the fall, of course, you led the bus convoy and student coordinators during the evacuation out of Afghanistan. Now you're one of 9 Afghan women from AUW to attend Cornell, where you're a senior studying economics, not an easy subject at Cornell. Could you let us know a little bit about your experience at AUW, your work leading the evacuation efforts?
I believe AUW's education quality is very, very different from rest of the universities all across Asia, because AUW helps and empowers today's women to be tomorrow's leaders and allows them to learn for the future and helps them to pursue their higher and desired field of study. And also it brings women from different countries who are compassionate and eager to learn. And just to give you a little bit kind of background information, information about my this transition and everything. Due to COVID-19 pandemic promoting me to return to Kabul, and then the unthinkable unfortunately happened. A flurry of cries, screams, and gunshots filled the air. And before I knew, I was coordinating and leading the bus convoy on WhatsApp for 148 young Afghan women who are studying at Asian University for Women to the Kabul airport in hopes of getting an entry into the Kabul airport. And I think this is that moment was the moment I realized how studying at Asian University for Women helped me, because AUW's education has its crucial role in building up my skills and capabilities that I shall throughout this journey. It's important to mention once again that the diversity in terms of religion, ethnicity, culture, and language within AUW have an important role in strengthening unique skills such as respect, compromise, communication, being passionate, which are very, very important while leading a group.
We're going to go on to another one of your fellow students at the UW, Halima Karimi, about her experience currently as a student at the AUW. What has your experience been like at AUW now that you're graduating? Do you see yourself continuing your involvement? How are you going to give back to the university?
After 3 months, when we had a dinner with respected Vice Chancellor and Dr. Kamal in the 20G rooftop of AUW campus, I was just thinking that I was just open my eyes to see whatever I'm seeing, to believe whatever I'm seeing. And I saw a group of girls, victim girls, that they were trying to be out of Afghanistan. They wanted to pursue their education, and I saw them. On that time, I really felt the real sense of humanity. And that time, I promised to myself that if I be graduate from AUW, I will not stop helping others. I will try to help others, especially Afghan girls, that they are only a victim. And then I hope that one day I will be a part of AEW community to help others.
Kamal, at one point during the evacuation in August, the students and alumni had been on the bus trying to get into the airport for over 30 hours. And Abbey Gate was bombed, right? That was when we were watching on television and, you know, seeing that happen. And the situation was hugely dangerous. You had to make some difficult decisions on the ground. And I was just wondering, I remember I talked to you after that. What was it like having to make the decisions? How did that all get done?
Well, the students had been on the bus for about 40 hours by then. They had been stopped. They had been threatened at various checkpoints on the way from the city to the airport. They were exhausted. One of the buses was fired upon. At one point in Safara's bus, a whole group of people tried to force themselves into the bus. But most frustratingly, as they turned to each gate, they got turned back repeatedly for no particular reason. And they were sitting, the buses were, if I remember correctly, were sitting on the Russian road just around the airport road when the bombs went off that killed over 100 people. It was not an easy decision to turn back. Students felt, I think there were two dilemmas. One was they felt if they went back home, they might never get another chance to come back. So there was a reluctance on part of many students to even go back after being on the bus for 40 hours already. The other part was the fear that they had been away for 40 hours already. So if they were to go home, people would already know that they had tried to escape. And that had repercussions of itself. But it got to the point where people were so exhausted, the drivers didn't want to move any further. So in some ways, we pledged that we would try to return and start again the following day. That was not a decision I alone made. Safara and all of the leaders, we were constantly in communication through WhatsApp. WhatsApp deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. So we were constantly in communications. It was a collective decision. And I think it was probably the best decision we made under the circumstances.
As I'm listening to you, I'm just wondering, Safara, you said Afghanistan is my home, Kabul is my heart. And I remember when I was talking to you a couple of weeks, or actually last week, what are your hopes for the future of your home as you are outside it? And how do you plan to use the experience you're gaining at AUW and Cornell to write a new chapter for Afghanistan and the women of Afghanistan?
I hope I can use the knowledge I gained from AUW, the experience I gained throughout this journey, to use in some stage. And if Afghanistan is safe in some stage in the future, I would love to go back and share my knowledge and experience with all those amazing young women back in Afghanistan, because I think Afghan women deserve the right to get education, which is a very and basic primary right for all other human beings. And girls are not allowed to go to school. My cousins, my family members, my friends, and all girls I know, they are not allowed to go to school anymore, unfortunately. But I hope, even if I will not be able to return to Afghanistan because of war and the security situation, I would love to travel to other countries. I would love to, in some stage, go to AUW and share my knowledge with students there. And it is one of my wishes to go to AUW and to help women there.
I don't know if you noticed in the chat, but Samaya Almadi, who's one of our students, wrote something rather wonderful in the chat, and I wondered whether she'd like to say it in person.
Absolutely, absolutely. We would love that.
So as one of the coordinator, which I came with these new students, we really started from the environment or from the situation which we could not believe that one day we could be success, that we can again reach to AUW, or we have the chance to support other our sister. And still, but then the good thing is that in that really we can say that in a dark environment, university AUW help us to come up and then in somehow again make our goals. So right now, again, not only me, our sisters who are here, and also those who are in Afghanistan, even in this situation, we are optimistic about the future of Afghanistan, because first of all, we believe our own self, and we believe for our goals, which we're building for making better Afghanistan. So we are not going to fight directly. We are going to fight against all discriminations, against of education, against of women, against of the community through our higher education, which I am sure AUW will help us to be ready and then be as a real and powerful woman, or can see a leader that can have effect for the future of Afghanistan.
In the chat, I see one of the students, I think it's Halima, who's saying, I'll never forget Dr. Kamal's words when he told us before the second evacuation, when we were so hopeless in Afghanistan. He told us, I want to keep all of you safe. I want to help you become more strong, and I'll help you get education for the day when Afghanistan needs you. I will save all of you young women to send you back when your country will take you back. These words are truly precious, and I think Kamal, yours and Sheila, yours, efforts have been really incredible. Let me, as we end the time, thank all of you for joining us. I wanted to say RockCreek is, going to continue our support. In fact, we'll be matching the support on this call, and very excited to hear also that the State Department is going to do more. And so I hope I invite everyone to support what you're doing at the university, and wanted to thank especially Seperha and Halima for sharing their stories. And there are many other women on this Zoom who have equally interesting stories we just didn't have time to go through. And I think these women are the future for Afghanistan, and really truly the future for the rest of Asia and the rest of the world. And while they're forced from their homes, the education and training that they're receiving will someday help rebuild Afghanistan, but also rebuild other countries that are in dire states. And I think this is the spirit of AUW, and with students like Sepera and Halima and many of you, this institution, I think, has a very, very bright future. And let me thank you, Mrs. Blair, for all your work on women's equality and human rights all around the world, and for your leadership of this very, very critical institution, and for joining us today. And I thank our audience. I thank Kamal, I thank Halima again, and Seperha, and all of you for joining us, and hoping for better days for everyone, especially women all over the world. Thank you for joining us.